here's Brodie Brazil.
In this video, I'm going to share where I think is the most important position in the airport traffic pattern. So let's begin with this simple diagram. Hopefully I can have this make sense. There's the runway, there's the upwind to crosswind, there's the crosswind to downwind, downwind to base. This does seem like a tight pattern, huh? Base turning into final here. So let's label everything. There's the upwind, crosswind, downwind, base leg, and final. And obviously all of this is assuming that the wind is coming that way and that we are ultimately landing that way. Okay, so where is this critical spot? What are we talking about here? Let's just spell it out for you right there. It's called the key position. And the reason that spot is most important to me, and if you kind of diagram it out here, you can draw a 45-degree angle off the numbers into this rectangle, but the key position is important to me because as you're in the downwind, beam the numbers right there, have you already started your descent right here? By this key position, let's say that the traffic pattern altitude, let's say it's just 1,000 feet, and call this airport at sea level, 1,000 feet off the ground. Have you already descended to maybe 800 or 750 feet here? Because if you haven't, if you're too high in this key position, your base leg is going to look really interesting because you have to do all this descending now in a short amount of space. Hopefully you've already started the descent before you got to the key position. Also this, you can adjust the key position. If you're trying to extend your downwind for traffic or timing or something else, you can change the key position. You can put it out here a little bit more. Or if you need to make a tight pattern, and I realize I've drawn this way out of proportion, then that's fine. Your key position can be right there, but does this buy you enough time to get down in your base and square it out for a nice final leg? Right? So the key position is important for altitude, but also position. How about this? As it relates to wind, we talked about it coming straight down the runway, but let's say you're dealing with a crosswind from this direction right here. So now, in the course of flying the downwind leg, instead of flying it straight here, have you journeyed out this way? Is your key position a lot farther? Or, even more complicated, let's say the wind is coming from this direction, right? So now, you've drifted even in closer here to the airport, and your key position is all of a sudden right there. Now you're real tight, right? And not only that, when you roll out, this wind is still coming this way. It's going to blow you way out here for your final approach. So wind correction is part of this. Altitude is part of this. Planning your stabilized approach. And I apologize for how messy this got here. Key position is everything. Knowing when you get to this point, the 45 off the runway, if you're far enough, and this is something that you gain over time and experience, and every airport environment looks different, but you'll really gain the knowledge of when and where and how high to be at that key position so that everything else makes a lot of sense in your base and your final leg. And let me just say this, one of the best tips I can give you about flying the base leg is to remember to descend. For whatever reason, pilots of all backgrounds and experience levels, a lot of times they just seem to flatten it out in the base leg. Keep coming down. You've already started your descent, hopefully, well before the base leg. Keep it coming down in the base leg. And obviously that key position is a big part of this.